This is a brief section on vomiting. Vomiting is also called emesis, and this is a forceful expulsion of gastric and or intestinal contents through the mouth, and it's generally a protective function that's caused either by irritation of the stomach or over distension of the stomach and intestines, and it's a way to clear the GI tract from the of the food before any lasting damage happens. The vomiting is a reflex. It's controlled by the vomiting center in the medulla oblongata, and it's the integration of sensory inputs, and it's coordinated by the center. And so it's an example of a long-range signal as it travels to the CNS. So the act of vomiting generally begins with reverse peristalsis of the small intestine that together with the relaxation of the pyloric sphincter puts the contents of the small intestine into the stomach. And then you get forced inspiration against a closed glottis that decreases the intrathoracic pressure and increases the intra-abdominal pressure, and this obviously moves the food further upwards into the stomach. And then you get a forceful contraction of the abdominal muscles to sharply increase the intra-abdominal pressure, and then the relaxation of the esophagus, the gastroesophageal and upper esophageal sphincters, and contraction of the pylorus to ensure that the direction then of this flow is out through the esophagus and out through the mouth. You get this approximation of the vocal cords and the closure of the glottis, and this prevents then the food going down the trachea or up into the nose, and just forceful projection of the stomach contents out. Usually this occurs after some retching, where gastric content is forced into the esophagus but doesn't enter the pharynx, it doesn't come out of the mouth, and like I say, this often precedes vomiting. After vomiting, you get this autonomic discharge, high sympathetic tone, salivation, dilation of the pupils and sweating, heavy breathing and irregular heartbeat. This all comes along with the act of vomiting. The cause of the vomiting can be several. You have the gag reflex, or the tactile stimulation of the back of the throat, which is the retching center, irritation and dissension of the stomach and duodenum, as mentioned at the beginning of this. You also have elevated intracranial pressure, as hemorrhages can cause vomiting. You have motion sickness and balance issues can cause vomiting, intense pain, and there are also chemical agents, emetics, that act on the upper portions of the GI tract and specialized chemoreceptors that will cause vomiting. So these emetics stimulate the receptors of the stomach of the duodenum, like ipecac, or they might stimulate the receptors in the central nervous system, like apomorphine, and these things will then stimulate the vomiting center to begin the process.